Joining me now, opinion editor of the Washington Times, Charlie Hurt, Republican campaign strategist, Tony Sayegh. Great to have you gentlemen with us. Charlie, let's start with the Democrats were pretty, I thought, very nasty, venal even, a number of them, toward Senator Jeff Sessions today. They're behaving awfully. And what should we, what's your reaction?
Yeah, certainly, and you know, all the innuendo, and they're trying to insinuate that somehow Jeff Sessions, who, by the way, is one of the most mannerly, polite, decent people you could ever talk to, somehow that he's a racist or something like that, I guess because he's from the South or he's from Alabama, he has a Southern accent. But I have to say, though, that hearing was a masterful performance by Jeff Sessions. Yep. They may have tried to trip him up. They may have tried to smear him. It didn't work. What he pulled off was, at last count, about 10 hours of, it was almost like a kindergarten teacher with a classroom of ADHD children. He just spoke slowly and politely, and he sort of walked them through the way the government works. And, you know, they couldn't come back at him, and nothing stuck with him. Nothing stuck on him. Everything they threw at him, it just rolled off.
Did you see Pat Leahy, Al Franken, Dianne Feinstein? My gosh, these are awful people. I mean, they really are awful, because there was nothing sincere, there was nothing authentic. They were playing politics, and they didn't care how much they denigrated a truly honorable man, a good man in Jeff Sessions.
And so much for senatorial courtesy, Lou. This is something that's been a tradition in a bipartisan way when a member of your chamber is obviously up for confirmation. That being said, look, there's been one member in the modern era of the Ku Klux Klan to be a senator, and that was a Democrat, Robert Byrd from West Virginia. I don't see Dianne Feinstein or Pat Leahy or any of that bunch ever show any resistance toward his service to this country. He was actually the most senior Democrat until his passing. He was the president pro tem of the Senate as a result. That being said, Democrats know they're going to lose this one. Senator Sessions is going to probably get bipartisan confirmation support, certainly going to get over 50 because of the Republican control of the Senate. This is grandstanding. They're doing it for their progressive groups. They're doing it to use as potential fundraising tools. You'll see it on full display with Cory Booker, senator from New Jersey's performance tomorrow, which will be shallow and feckless and substance-less, of course. But they feel they need to do this, but they know they're going to ultimately lose this battle.
And Terry, what do you think of the very helpful counsel of the ponderous Secretary Kerry, who holds forth with his nose back, his chin up, and says, I think 140 characters is a bit too few for me.
Well, we've now had diplomacy for the past 4 years done by the most loquacious gas bag in the Senate, and it's not worked out very well. We've got, Putin on the march. We've got Iran headed towards a nuclear bomb, and just mayhem around the world. So maybe diplomacy, 140 characters at a time. It can't be any worse than what it is with all the talk that John Kerry does.
By the way, I would maintain, and I hope Senator Kerry isn't too offended, but 140 characters is more than adequate to measure commensurately with his intellectual brain power. It's just he's something else.
But Lou, you got to consider you can't speak Boston Brahmin in 140 characters. There's a lot of stuttering involved, as you saw on full display. Look, John Kerry is the Secretary of State that nuclearized Iran, the biggest proliferator and sponsor of global terror that's existed in our lifetime. That's his legacy. We're going to talk about the Obama legacy, obviously, based on the speech tonight. We can get over Obamacare. It's going to be repealed and replaced. We can get over the fact that he's used the EPA to attack coal and other energy sources that's decimated jobs. But the worst part of the Obama legacy is replacing peace through strength with chaos and weakness, and that's exactly what John Kerry represents.
And Ted Cruz, I've got to say to you, I've been not always kind to Senator Cruz on this broadcast, but I've got to tell you, he was masterful today in pointing out the hypocrisy of all of the Democrats who challenged Jeff Sessions and this sudden newfound urge to actually have law and order and to have the federal government actually enforce laws, Charlie. He was absolutely terrific, didn't you think?
Yeah, that's where Ted Cruz is at his very best. In the Judiciary Committee, heck, on the Supreme Court, the guy is so smart, he's so right about things, he's just not a terribly gifted politician. That's my personal opinion when it comes to appealing to new voters. That's just not his strong point. But in terms of knowing the Constitution, knowing the law, and being able to make very cogent arguments in a setting like that, nobody can compare to the guy.
And by the way, we just received word the Sessions hearing has just wrapped up. Senator Sessions is a man of great patience, a truly classy individual, a great senator, great public servant. He has been at this for 12 hours, interrupted by a few breaks and more than a few questions that went on and on. He is really enduring, and we'll get to pick it up tomorrow at 9:30 in the morning. As he moves toward what will be certainly confirmation, irrespective of what the bad manners and just awfulness that a few of the Democratic senators have decided to conjure up and share with the country. I really think, Tony, that the Democrats are running a real risk here. Sessions is an eminently respected and liked individual. What they're doing to the home audience is watching as they watch this. Democrats are losing more votes. He's a hard figure to demonize, Lou, which is why I think you've actually even seen the New York Times telegraph what I think is going to ultimately be the case, which is you're going to have a Justice Department under the purview of Jeff Sessions. A big reason for that, too, is this crystal clear understanding that for 8 years we've lived outside the boundary of our own immigration law, and people on both sides of the aisle reject the idea that we no longer are a country that enforces the rule of law. And he was extremely clear and articulate today. That's his job as AG, is to enforce the laws of the land, not necessarily make them. That's the Senate and the Congress's job, obviously. And I think he came across as very rational, very reasoned, and with the right temperament to lead our Justice Department. And that's why, again, you're going to see, I think, probably over 70 votes in his favor.